Praise be Jesus Christ. One of the most impressive phenomena with the apparitions of the Blessed Virgin Mary to the high school girls in Kibeho, Rwanda, Africa, that began in 1981 and were approved by the church, was these mystical journeys. Our Blessed Mother took the young ladies on mystical journeys so she could show them heaven, purgatory, and hell. And what's part of the phenomena is while these young ladies were on these mystical journeys, they seemed to be dead. And at the time they would come back from the mystical journeys, they would come back to full life. And this was witnessed and documented by medical doctors. It's a real phenomenon. You can read about this in Immaculate's book, Our Lady of Kibeho. But one of the visionaries' description of what she saw, this is what Anatali says. She says, "The first was a world where the landscape was comprised of varying shades of vivid color and light, and people traveled from place to place by sliding through the light." She says she saw angels and they were wearing white cloaks and they were creating the most beautiful music without any instruments. Each note was filled with a different sensation of contentment and joy. She asked the Blessed Mother, "Where are we, Mother?" "This is Isangano. This is the place of communion." She goes on to say, "And then we moved on to our next destination, a world where the light was as dim as dusk. Below us were people dressed in clothes of dreary and duller colors in comparison to the other worlds we'd seen. Most of them seemed content, but many seemed quite sad and were even suffering. Mary said, 'This is Isensengurwa, a place of purification.' The last place we visited was a land of twilight, where the only illumination was an unpleasant shade of red that reminded me of congealed blood. The heat that rose from that world was stifling and dry. It brushed my face like a flame, and I feared that my skin would blister and crack. I couldn't look at the countless people who populated that unhappy place because their misery and anguish pained me so greatly. Mary didn't have to say the name of this place. I knew I was in hell." And then she goes on to describe, and this is what I want to highlight in this video, she describes how people, or what type of people, end up in heaven, in purgatory, and in hell. Check this out. Very simple. This is coming from a teenager who's just learning about the things of God through these apparitions. She says, "The first place, the happy world of the cherished of God, was reserved for people whose hearts are good, who pray regularly, and who strive always to follow God's will. Our second visit to the place of purification was for those who called on God only during times of trouble, turning away from Him when their troubles were over. The last place of heat and no name was for those who never paid God any attention at all." And so make sure you're in the category of people who have a good heart, who pray regularly, and to strive to do God's will. We need to make God the center of our lives. He needs to be first. The words of our Lord Jesus in Matthew 6, our Lord says, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things shall be yours as well." Viva Cristo Rey.